I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. He's just perfect. What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here. Fun fact, I do mean to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. For another fun fact, I have 10 minutes to talk about why I love Neo Egoist Kaiser so much. So, here's my thing, very specifically, when you're writing not just an antagonist, but specifically a rival character. I want them to reflect the main character as much as humanly possible. Something about that in a rival always does something for me. And by mirror, I do mean mirror, literally. As in, it can either be a perfect reflection or a reflection that is warped. I see Rin as a rival who mirrors Isagi in a bunch of different ways, even if I don't find him all too interesting. But Kaiser mirrors Isagi simply because he's Isagi's essential dark future, especially at the start of the Neo Egoist League. Kaiser's introduced to be this perfect, idealized, honestly untouchable and evolved version of Isagi. He has the exact same playstyle, the exact same interactions, the exact same core, but the thing is, he's stronger, he's faster, he's taller, he's leaner, he has a better direct shot. He is what Isagi Yoichi himself describes as his playstyle perfected, risen to a level beyond Isagi himself. And that is how you set up a good dynamic mirror. Have our main character acknowledge that this character that they're witnessing, is them themselves, but evolved. Something like a future version of themselves falling into the past. And very specifically set up this rival character as someone that the main character doesn't want to be. That's the core idea of it. When Kaiser and Isagi first meet, they despise each other. Kaiser doesn't even consider Isagi relevant, nothing more than a rodeo clown for this entire show, where he simply decides to become the best in the world. While Isagi Yoichi views Kaiser as an arrogant, mean, disgusting fool who must be overcome for his misdeeds. And the thing is, both of them are right. Ultimately, the Neo Egoist League did end as but a stepping stone for Kaiser to achieve his own freedom somewhere else, away from BM. And ultimately, Isagi Yoichi was able to overcome and trample over Kaiser, showing that beautiful mirror dynamic. But of course, I'm getting a little too far ahead of myself. That's end of story Kaiser and start of story Kaiser. What about the entire Neo Egoist League in the middle? And to that I say, the Neo Egoist League is a not necessarily appeared, but a mirrored story between Isagi and Kaiser, and them specifically starting like this, and shifting till they're like this, only to meet like this, link like this, and end up like this, with Isagi Yoichi and Kaiser losing and winning in certain particular ways. So, obviously, Barcha Kaiser is the purest, most original, and most distilled version of Kaiser. The one who is truly arrogant, the one who stands atop, the one who expects Isagi Yoichi to bow. But it's when Isagi Yoichi doesn't bow that he gives him his due respect, and literally splits the team in half in between games, being like, whoever chooses to follow Isagi, so be it. But the rest of you, you can bow down to me. And then we see Manshine Kaiser, and very specifically Manshine Kaiser's willingness to still believe in his absolute supremacy, even when it's starting to be challenged. He sees people start to align with Isagi, he sees people start to break away, and he sees people start to be stripped away from him. Yet, there isn't too much fear just yet. He still doesn't necessarily view Isagi as an equal just yet. But what does Manshine Isagi do? He goes specifically out of his way to defeat Kaiser as a playmaker, as someone who controls the pitch of the match. And very specifically, Kaiser now needs to start playing interference in a much more direct and literal way. He has to stop Isagi's goals, intercept his own passes, mess with Isagi more interpersonally. Once again, it's Kaiser who started up here, and Isagi who started down here, slowly rising and being brought down to each other's level. And very specifically, the entire Manshine game ends with Kaiser's first true official humbling, but not only his humbling, but his first true bit of official respect for Isagi, understanding why he would be considered the demonic hero king, as he catches him towards the end, after Isagi has taken the core of Kaiser's playstyle, Metavision, and made it his own, and honestly in a way made it better. And Kaiser succeeds the loss to Isagi. And notably, it only gets better by the time of Ubers, because now the two stand like this, closer, almost connected, but still slightly differentiated from their ability as strikers. Kaiser still views himself as supreme there. Sure, Isagi's able to beat him as a playmaker, but they aren't playmakers, they're not midfielders, they're strikers. They lead the game, they define it by their goals. And Kaiser now is forced to respect Isagi as someone who could get his own goals, someone who could stand unafraid and atop alongside him as an equal. Once again, as Kaiser loses piece after piece after piece until he has nothing left but Ness to support him in this team freedom that once was his own. And then we see what happens in Ubers. Kaiser be locked down. Once again, since Kaiser was dragged down low enough from the apex of creation, he could be locked down by Lorenzo, and very specifically only freed by the actions of he who he would consider his dark mirror in Isagi. It is only because of Isagi's dominant and dangerous presence on the field in Ubers that Lorenzo delatches from him and allows Kaiser to score the best goal in the series, the bicycle kick off somebody else's back. But with that being the case, that moment indiscriminately is what Kaiser recognizes as a failure in spite of how amazing that goal is, simply because he knows he could not have done it without Isagi. And it's this slow weathered breakdown of Kaiser, breaking away the veneers of this unstoppable, untouchable, supreme player that makes him so good. And of course, with all the build up, all the mystery, it all comes to a beautiful conclusion in PXG versus BM, where ultimately Kaiser realizes that he was wrong. If he couldn't learn it in Barcha, if he couldn't learn it in Manshine, if he couldn't learn it in Ubers, PXG was the game that showed Kaiser that ultimately where he thought he was, how he thought he stood unrivaled, how he approached the very world itself was wrong and incorrect, and he only did that because of the way he was raised. He allowed the thing that once defined him in the past to define him all the way into the future, well into his adulthood, and now he needs to fix that. Now he needs to undo that by whatever means necessary. If that means destroying himself and abandoning everything, changing who he is, why he is, how he operates, all of it doesn't matter, as long as he can achieve victory, no matter the cost. And seeing him give into this more childish idea, give into that freedom, give into that need for connection, very specifically, my favorite panel in the entire Neo Egoist League, even if I think his goal is a little bit plot-induced, it's the young Kaiser, ball in hand, reaching out, declaring he wants to be loved. He wants to have that connection. And what I love the most about Neo Egoist League Kaiser is that Isagi gives him just that. The connection, the freedom, the fun of interpersonal dynamics with someone you consider a friend, a rival, an equal, someone to look at. And guess how it ends? Kaiser doesn't win. He is simply used as a tool. Because ultimately the world is still oh so cruel. Kaiser's strength comes from the darkness of his past. Kaiser's application of strength comes from an evolution of the darkness of his past, but ultimately he was never liberated from it. Isagi Yoichi wouldn't allow him to be. The whole point of Kaiser was to simply serve another man's ideal and make that man better. And in that case, there is no greater character at doing this than Kaiser. In my honest opinion, Kaiser and Isagi have the best dynamic, simply because of how much they raise each other up, by one dragging the other down as the other drove the other up. And I made a mistaken analogy earlier. I said they both ended like this, with Isagi finally rising above Kaiser and Kaiser falling down beneath Isagi. But realistically, they both ended like this. Pure, perfect, equals, both having risen from where they started. Kaiser is ever the stronger player than he was before, now that he's finally opened his heart back up to reconnection. And Isagi is ever the stronger player than he was before, by finally fully embracing what Kaiser truly was. Isagi has embodied, and if not surpassed, the embodiment of what he viewed as perfection in the original Kaiser. And Kaiser has realized what he once had was no perfection at all, but a farce, a facade, something that was only a basis to grow from, not a place to be stagnant. That's why he got the offer to La Real. That's why he's now free. That's why he must now be reborn. Kaiser won the Neo Egoist League. He never lost a game. But ultimately he lost to Isagi Yoichi. He lost to the man he considered no more a threat than an insect. He lost, even if due to circumstance. And that ability to lose, that ability to be reborn through loss, and that ability to be allowed the freedom to evolve within it, that is why Kaiser is divine. That is why Kaiser is perfect. He filled the narrative role he was meant to fill. He filled it in an interesting way that allowed for amazing goals and amazing character interactions. He allowed for fluid character dynamics and development, brought in characters I never thought were going to be relevant, and made them relevant in many different ways, shapes, and forms, such as Ness and Kiora. And on top of that, allowed himself to be set up perfectly for a long-running future as a serious antagonist in the long-running story of Blue Lock. So honestly, I literally don't even know how you would write Kaiser any better. He served his narrative role perfectly, and he still has so much more to go and grow from. And if you ask me, that's the best kind of character you could ever have. But of course, unfortunately, I am out of time. But if you made it all the way to the end of this video, please leave Shatterpoint Heaven. I don't know why. Some like Shatterpoint, and I'm thinking like something Heaven from Fire Emblem Three Houses. But would be the case, leave Shatterpoint Heaven in the comment section down below. And then thank you so much for watching. Please remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure the notifications get up and out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, you do have a Patreon down below where you support me for as low as $1 a month. Things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. Also, now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. So those perks include the live reactions here this series I'm to review, add variations of all my videos. If you become a $20 patron or a $20 member, you can order whatever video you want. Also, I do have a link to my Ko-Fi in the description down below. You drop 5 videos in a short video, 20 beans a long video, or any beans at all. Any support is always greatly appreciated. Now, I'd like to thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is that guy with the pencil, writing off. I would like to give a thank you to our sketch tier members: Eternal Flame, Redwolf 4765, Astro, Super Flame Zero, Glacier, XZ, Zera, Brendan Payne, J2MA, Guillaume, Buddha Uda, Alex Kenny, Yuki Ally, Enzo, Nevis 97, Zachary Wilson, Azo 2404, Planet Crone, Rye Rich, G Prosper, Swift Strike, Alexicon, Striker Man, and Autumn Mornings Lazo. Then, I'd like to give a thank you to our line art patrons: Sean, Midnight Lord 21, Kevin, Encarnacion, Dread Zoan, and A+A. Then, I'd like to give a thank you to our Ink tier members: Austin Wimberly, Euchia, and Shrimpo the Shrimp. Then, I'd like to give a thank you to our digital art tier members: J Warrior and AZ Void. And I'd like to give a thank you to our colored art tier patrons: Joaquin Munoz and Joaquin Munoz. And a final and thank you to our ultimate, that guy with a pencil tier patron, Calvin's wife. Not Calvin Elder, who ultimately does have one of my kidneys, but now I must know, and I must undergo the process of getting this second one removed, so I can send the other over to this wonderful family.